You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com,
the largest independent fan site in the NFL.
Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Glenn Naughton and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, Jets fans. I am Glenn Naughton. This is JetNation Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've even bothered to do so, because who in the world could blame anyone for refusing to engage in any activity that has anything to do with this disaster of a football team? This is a low point, folks. I mean, this is one of those, if you got to laugh so you don't cry. That's how terrible. This is an all-timer. This loss on Sunday, if this doesn't send a message to Jets ownership that it's time to make a change at the head coaching position, then nothing will. And I refuse to believe. Christopher Johnson came out after last week's loss and said that Adam Gase is brilliant. A brilliant offensive mind. Gave him a public vote of confidence. He's talking to the fans like they're idiots, folks. And I'm the last guy to get on ownership. I give ownership a pass at almost every step of the way. I've said this in the past. It's due largely to the fact that I don't believe that the Patriots are great because Bob Kraft is great, and Bob Kraft knows X's and O's. Owners hire coaches that they think will work out, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But this, a coach who has never done a damn thing without Peyton Manning dragging his ass to the top of the offensive rankings, and we're calling this guy a genius, and he comes out for a home opener. Now, of course, that's irrelevant with no fans in the stands. However, it's not irrelevant in that he's playing a West Coast team that has to fly from California, deal with the jet lag of coming from California to New York. They're going into the game. Richard Sherman's on IR. Akela Weatherspoon has a concussion. Two of your top corners sitting out. George Kittle, their best offensive player, on the shelf. A few minutes into the game, they lose Bosa to an ACL. On the next play, I believe it was the next play, a couple plays, whatever, who cares? Solomon Thomas, done, ACL, both out for the year. D Ford, out, didn't play a snap. 5 of their defensive players, several of them Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber players, not on the field. The starting quarterback, hurt, doesn't come out for the second half. The starting running back, who took the opening toss of the game 80 yards untouched to the end zone, out for the game. And what does Adam Gase do? What does the genius... And listen, I get it. The Jets are banged up. I get it. Braxton Berrios isn't Jerry Rice. Josh Malone isn't John Taylor. But you know what? When you're a head coach in that position, in any position, injuries or not, you play to your strengths. This team, as currently constructed, gives themselves the best opportunity to win by running 2 tight end sets and getting both tight ends involved in the game. And I don't want to hear that Chris Herndon had some drops. He's still the one guy who you can create some mismatches with. Maybe, just maybe, Chris Herndon's having a little bit of a hard time getting into a rhythm, since Adam Gase is using him to block more than any other tight end in the NFL. No tight end is used to block more than Chris Herndon. The guy who should be your number one target on offense is your number one blocker. Ryan Griffin doesn't see the field, except when you line him up at wide receiver because you're an idiot. So don't give me this, well, the Niners had guys hurt, but so did the Jets. But you still didn't play to your strengths against a team that was decimated by injuries. And you didn't just come out and lose. You came out and got your damn doors blown off. Yet another garbage time touchdown for a little bit of window dressing. For all intents and purposes, this football team has not put together a scoring drive this season inside of the first 58 minutes. You got 2 full games. Jamison Crowder took a wide receiver screen, 69 yards for a touchdown. One big play that was sprung by a couple of blocks. Your other 2 touchdowns, genius, garbage time touchdown run in week 1, and then a garbage time touchdown pass this week when Braxton Berrios hauled in a 30-yarder from Sam Darnold to bring the Jets within 31-13 with 1:30 to go. You have one damn touchdown. And let's face it, when you're down 21-0 in the opening minutes of the game, as the Jets have done each of the past couple weeks, it's all garbage time, folks. These games are over in a quarter. This season is over. 2 weeks in, time to look at the draft. Time to talk about when to get rid of Adam Gase. And I'll tell you what, it can't happen soon enough. This guy is an absolute buffoon. He really is. And listen, anyone who listens to this show, anyone who reads the articles on JetNation.com, some of the stuff that I write, it's no secret that I don't like Adam Gase. I didn't like the hire from the second it happened. And I've been nothing but negative and critical. However, I did say a few weeks ago on this show that maybe, just maybe, we were going to have to give Adam Gase a little bit of slack for those very few fans who still support this bozo. I said, you know what? Let's be fair. Let's take a step back. Maybe, just maybe, Adam Gase is the unluckiest coach in NFL history. Because he has had injuries at the quarterback position consistently. With Miami, with Tannehill getting hurt and having to go with Cutler and Moore and whoever his backups were there. And then tons of injuries last year. Darnold's mono. I get all that. So I said, you know what? Let me for 2 seconds pretend that Adam Gase isn't atrocious. Let's say maybe he's just got some bad luck. And let's see how he does. Let's see out of the gate if this looks like a different team. And like I said, folks, the injury argument carries zero weight because you're not playing to your strengths. They asked Adam Gase after the game, why didn't you throw to the tight ends more? We had some things drawn up. We just didn't get to them. You didn't get to them. You had other things to do. You needed to get Frank Gore 74 carries. 37-year-old Frank Gore, God forbid Frank Gore isn't a bell cow running back all day long, getting 3 yards a carry. Adam Gase was beside himself with amazement watching Frank Gore pick up 3 yards in a cloud of dust. He was in awe, barely contain himself. Run Gore again, run Gore again, run Gore again. Chris Herndon, we'll get to that later. We got to get Frank Gore some carries. Ryan Griffin, who's that guy? Get Frank Gore back in there. Embarrassing. Alex Varala will not be with us tonight, folks. We're going to be joined by Dylan Tereman. Alex is on IR. But I believe we have a caller now. Caller, you on the line?
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me, Glenn?
I can. Is that you, Dylan?
Yes, it is.
All right. I wasn't sure because the number was looking different from the one you sent me. But Dylan, I don't know. We haven't spoken yet. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume you're not happy with what happened with the Jets this Sunday. You did just send me that link. I saw the comments earlier. For those of you who haven't heard, Avery Williamson on WFAN today basically said, we don't practice well, we don't tackle well, which apparently some comment. I didn't realize McDougal had said something similar. So you now have a veteran safety who came over from one of the winningest teams in the NFL, and in week 2, he's like, I don't know what the hell we're doing in practice. And then they ask Avery Williamson about it, and he goes, yeah, I agree. I don't know what the hell we're doing in practice. So this is it, folks. This is your head coach, Adam Gase. Career losing record, gets blown out more often than he wins. Veteran players don't know what they're doing in practice. He was gonna run the good plays, but he was gonna get to those later because Frank Gore's got to get those numbers. I know they drafted
the good plays.
Yeah, I know they drafted LaMichael Perrin, but listen, that's what the last 2 minutes of the game are for. That's when you want to see what your young players can do. And listen, the offensive line, they opened up some holes. Offensive line wasn't bad. I'm watching Frank Gore pick up 3 yards a clip, and I'm thinking, I'd like to see what one of these young explosive guys might do. Listen, we're going to sign Kalen Ballage. Hey, Adam Gase, why do you sign Kalen Ballage? Oh, Kalen Ballage runs a 4.48. Weighs 225 pounds. That's why we signed Kalen Ballage. What's he going to do?
And he gets just as many snaps as Peter Ryan.
Yeah, he's going to sit his 225-pound ass on the bench.
Yep.
And they're going to watch Frank Gore. Listen, he's either the dumbest guy in the league or this is 100% a tank job. And the Jets are absolutely mailing it in, and Adam Gase has been given the green light to go 0-16 and come back next year.
That's what it looks like.
It's the
only other explanation at this point.
If we want to find a logical reason as to why Frank Gore is the central point, the focus of the offense, with young running backs sitting on the bench, Chris Herndon not getting the ball, Ryan Griffin can't get on the damn field, it's the Frank Gore show. The only explanation is we want that number 1 pick. And which tells you they don't like Darnold. And listen, the way he coached this game, he either doesn't like Darnold or he just does not believe in him.
Or he can't trust him. Absolutely. That was
he doesn't give up play on 3rd and 18 draw.
Yep.
I mean,
design checkdowns on 3rd and long are just the slow death of any young quarterback.
I don't know if you heard us. I mean, probably we didn't talk about this enough, but Alex and I did discuss after the hire, and we brought it up a few times on the show. You go back and watch Adam Gase's time in Miami. He was notorious for calling plays short of the sticks. Notorious. 3rd and 8, throw it 4. 3rd and 10, throw it 7. 2nd and 5, throw it 3.
Yak plays, yep.
Did it the other day. 3rd down and 3, they throw a 1-yard pass on 3rd and 3. You throw it 1 damn yard. Could you possibly have any less confidence in the quarterback?
Exactly. And with the receiving core and skill position players we're trotting out there, you'd believe that he'd have no trust in them over his young quarterback who's actually proven something on the field. But no, he'd rather have Braxton Berrios or Chris Hogan try to run 6 yards after the catch and move the chains rather than keep Sam upright, throw it 8-10 yards down the field. Gosh forbid he throws it 20 yards down the field one time, and who knows? But
this team was down 3 corners. We didn't see one pass travel 20 yards in the air.
Nope, his
Not
furthest
one.
pass was the Berrios touchdown, and that's getting glossed over because garbage time and
Garbage
they only
time.
made it an
Fantastic
18-point deficit. So, yeah, exactly, great play, but no one's going to talk about it because what did it accomplish in the game? Exactly.
Down by 1 million. Nobody cares.
Nope.
And
he would have had like
had
130 yards and no score without that play, so you could have done without it.
Yeah, absolute joke. Nick Mullins comes in for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo. That's probably the only reason the Niners didn't score 300 today. Greg Williams doesn't get a free pass, by the way. I got people on Twitter. Oh, how can you be so hard on Gase? You're such a big Greg Williams fan. You're not calling him out. Listen, Greg Williams isn't the guy I'm worried about. Is he doing a terrible job? Absolutely. You want to fire him with Gase? If that's the price, go ahead and do it.
He's still not the liability, in my opinion, but yeah, he's not to be excused from the blame either.
Absolutely. But he's not the head coach.
Jimmy Garoppolo and Nick Mullins combined go for 22 of 27 for over 200 yards. It just nothing about that is inspiring.
3rd down and 31 inside their own 10-yard line. 55-yard run play. Now, and this might be the reason why Avery Williamson said what he said. Alec Ogletree. I didn't get that signing to begin with.
Nope.
I just don't think he's a good player. And as far as I'm concerned, you could put 135 rushing yards squarely on Alec Ogletree's shoulders. On the 80-yard run and later on the 55-yard run, he got sucked so far inside, he couldn't recover and get back out and make a tackle. He's your middle linebacker. Niners did a good job of blocking, hat on a hat and all that. But Ogletree's the guy who's got to be in position to at least stretch the play out and maybe try to run the guy out of bounds. Give someone else a chance to show up and help. Something. But instead, 130 yards on 2 carries, and I would put both. I mean, listen, of course someone else can make a play. But it's that middle linebacker getting sucked inside and then having to make up ground that he just cannot make up because he's not quick enough. Avery Williamson.
And I'm not sure about the touchdown they had called back, the 67-yarder, but you could probably assume the same thing there, just out of his assignment and not where he needed to be on the play. And it's funny, I know they were trying to bring back Avery in like just a limited role and gave him 17 snaps, but if Ogletree's not working out that badly, don't give him 34 snaps in the ball game. I mean, they were quick to pull Desir in week 1, so you should know your mistakes and pull him sooner and get somebody else in there before
gotta pull
bad
Ogletree.
turns to worse.
Yeah, you pull Ogletree and you let Williamson play until, I mean, he's not going to take himself out, but you play Williamson until the guy upstairs in the booth calls down and says, "Hey man, Avery's out of gas. You got to sub him out." Then fine, that's when Ogletree goes in. Let Williamson get a breather. But maybe that's why Williamson goes on the radio today and says, "Yeah, we don't practice. We don't practice well." This is a guy who took
After he
a
just got out
pay
snapped
cut.
by a guy off the street.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Greg Williams, that's on you. That Avery Williamson decision. I don't know why he's not in there, but I saw a number today. The Jets lead the NFL in missed tackles with 40.
Yep.
And I think
it's not even close to the second last one, I think.
Yeah, I think the next closest team has like 19 or 20 something. So it's a disaster. Offense is a disaster. Defense is a disaster. So sure. I mean, listen, I've been saying for a while, if you're going to fire Gase, you make Greg Williams the head coach.
Yep.
And now, as bad as the defense has been, if firing Greg Williams has to happen in order for Adam Gase to get fired, so be it. I don't care. I don't have an emotional attachment to Greg Williams. I just think that he's a better head coach than Adam Gase. That's not saying much, but
exactly.
It's not like you don't have another guy on the staff who knows the team, who has the respect of the locker room, who could step in for Adam Gase. And then you got Jim Bob Cooter, Look at Jim Bob Cooter's coaching history. He's got better offensive numbers as an offensive coordinator than Adam Gase has. The best offensive coordinator on the Jets is the running backs coach.
Yep, I agree with that. And I've seen a bunch of names floated around Twitter and other areas of other potential candidates, but I think Jim Bob Cooter would be the ideal fit. What he did in Detroit was pretty good. He revitalized that offense from the depths. They were bad, and
I mean, he
brought
was
them
the guy
back,
who was
so.
he was in place when Megatron retired, and people thought that offense was going to tank without Megatron, and they weren't great, but they were better than anything Adam Gase has ever done without Peyton Manning carrying them.
They exceeded expectations for sure.
And this is just, I mean, and listen, on the topic of the possibility of, is this team tanking? And I said this after week one, if they didn't grab a corner, because their corners, and again now Arthur Mollett to IR, everybody's on IR. But if you don't go out and make a move to get somebody, and I'm not saying you got to go get an All-Pro. Just go.
You don't have to spend all $30 million. Just spend $8.
No, like I said last week.
$15.
Give Prince Amukamara. Not even that. Spend $10. Give Prince Amukamara a call. Shore up the cornerback position opposite Bless Austin,
who looks great so far through 2 games.
Get Demaryius Thomas. Get somebody that Sam Darnold can throw the damn football to, who's proven they can catch it. And I'm not saying, like I said, these aren't moves that are going to make this team a playoff contender. But are you seriously going to send Sam Darnold out there every week with supporting cast like this?
Yeah, you
and
just
Joe
can't
Douglas,
do it to Sam Darnold.
No, and you can't look at what's going on and continue the free passes for Joe Douglas. I'm like everybody else. I love the hire. I said the second they fired Mac that, I thought it was a dumb way to do it, to let him run a draft and spend all that money and then fire him. But I said it's dumb, but it's worth it if you can get Joe Douglas, and they got Joe Douglas.
Yep.
And I was, not just me, but a whole lot of people following the draft were like, what the hell did Joe Douglas just do? Why did he have 9, 10 draft picks with this deep receiver class, and he comes out with 1 receiver? And now, as a result of that, now we got Josh Malone back on the active roster. Nothing against Josh Malone. I'm sure he's a great guy. And I kind of like Braxton Berrios. Kind of anxious to see what he can do in an expanded role. Right. But that doesn't change the fact that this team needed a few more receivers. And you drafted one. You picked up a couple undrafted guys who, didn't make the roster. Of course, Cager is still around on the practice squad. It's maddening. I mean, as much as I disliked the hire, as hard as I've been on Adam Gase, as critical as I've been of Adam Gase, I couldn't imagine it being this bad. I said before the game, I said I'm genuinely curious to see how the running back carries are distributed. Because I really thought it's probably going to be something like Gore's going to see 12 to 15, P. Ryan's going to see 8 to 12, and Ballard's going to see 5 to 7. Nope.
Which is what the normal person would expect.
Yes. Gore. P. Ryan, Gore.
Until it was too late. Yeah.
A minute left in the game. A minute left in the game. Let's give P. Ryan 3 carries. Let's give Ballage a carry. It's unbelievable. And you know what? The idiot might do it again this week. Which, again,
he will.
Which tells me he has the green light to tank, or he's the most incompetent head coach we've ever seen. Rich Kotite no longer holds that title. Because this guy...
I think...
they're not going to win.
I was young. I wasn't... But this is definitely the worst I've seen. I'm only 25, but this is the worst I've seen from the Jets in quite a long time. This is pretty much embarrassing to this point. 37 snaps for Frank Gore, and nobody else sees double-digit snaps. This is just... It's literally embarrassing. There's no other way to put it lightly or It's downright embarrassing, and it does allude to the fact that he is either given the green light to not care, and it is what it is. Maybe they'll blame COVID in the off season or something for being unprepared, but it just does not look like they even care to put a winning product on the field.
And listen, again, I hate to keep repeating it, but I can't. I'm trying to come to a logical conclusion as to why we would see what we're seeing. And those are the only two options. That Adam Gase is far more incompetent than any of us ever could have imagined, or they have the green light to tank. That's it. Because, and especially if we see it again this week, because as I said, and I'm kind of pissed off because I haven't had a chance to watch the All-22. Last week, I don't know why. NFL.com in Europe, England, it seems like things run a little slower out here in terms of when the All-22 is uploaded. I didn't get access to it until mid-late Thursday last week. And so then today I thought, well, it's not going to be up. And then about 45 minutes ago, I thought, let me just check for the hell of it. And it was up. But, of course, I didn't have time to watch it because I had like 40 minutes. No time to slow things down, make notes. But to me, on the live view, it sure as hell looked like there were some running lanes for the running back. And I'm watching this game, and I'm thinking to myself, when are we going to see a younger, more explosive back? Okay, and then when he pulls Frank Gore, he pulls him on 4th and 1 to let Josh Adams get one carry where Greg Van Roten whipped on a block, and then that's it. It's back to Frank Gore for the next however many carries.
That whole scenario is just mind-boggling in itself. If you know you're going for it on 4th and short, you dial up something better than a Frank Gore inside dive on 3rd and 1. And if that is the play call and you're sticking to it, which he said in the interview, he had a 3rd and 1 dialed up to Brashad Perriman, which he was already hurt. So how do you have a play designed for Brashad Perriman at that point? And then he had to switch out of it to the Frank Gore run. If you're going to run them on 3rd and 1, just run them again on 4th and 1. If you don't trust them 4 yards or 4 carries in a row, what are we doing here? It's silly. Then you put Josh Adams in for his only carry of the game, really, and boom, blown up. That's it. And then the left guard misses a block, which he did, but it's the play call. It starts with the play call. And then no confidence in Sam to give him the ability to open up the playbook on any scenario. I'm sorry, if your quarterback shows that much promise like Sam has over the years, you give him full range of the playbook in almost any scenario. And it's more of a power thing, I think, with Gase not letting
I was
Sam
going to say, unless you're an egomaniac.
Ego. Yep.
Unless you're an
100%.
egomaniac, a damn control freak who has to dictate every single decision, do you have your quarterback go out there and not have the authority to make a change at the line?
You see Lamar Jackson come off the field on 3rd and 3 when they just failed to pick up a first down, and he's angry and he's yelling at Jim Harbaugh to let him go back on the field to go convert that 4th down. Do you think he's going to give him a couple plays? No, he gives him the whole playbook and says, go, make that first down. I have the confidence in you. And Gase just needs to do that to Sam because more often than not, Sam will prove, and he'll actually make Gase look better for it if he just lets him do it. That's an easy first down, in my opinion.
And that, honestly, if things don't work out for Sam Darnold in New York, that might be his downfall. The fact that he's not assertive. I think he's a passive kid.
He's too quiet.
He's a respectful kid who's going to do what he's told, and he's not going to say, listen, dude, we need to run this. This is what's going to work right now. I don't see him being – and maybe he does. I don't get that feeling. And his – not just the response, but sort of the tone of his response when he was asked by Brian Costello of the New York Post, hey, Sam, on that 4th and 1, do you have the authority? And I do like the way I like the way Costello worded that. Instead of saying, why didn't you change out of that play? Sam, do you have the authority, the ability, whatever he said, to change that play, or do you have to stick with what they call? We stick with what they call. And he said it.
Which means he doesn't.
Sam Darnold, so he says it in the nicest possible way, nicest tone of, we stick with what they call. No, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to make a change at the line. And then they ask Adam Gase about it. Well, he can change some plays, but he can't change other plays, and he can only change plays sometimes.
Yep.
When does he get to change the play? In garbage time? Is that why that's the only time they score?
Exactly.
It's a damn embarrassment.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, the best thing that the only good thing.
Hard to find a.
The only good thing that comes out of this weekend is that this game was apparently one of the lowest-rated Jets games in team history on television. Those are the types of things ownership is going to have to see.
Yep.
Yeah, ownership is going to have to see that and go, hang on a minute. If people aren't willing to take 3 hours out of their day to watch the game from their couch in the comfort of their own home, what is this going to say for dealing with the nightmare traffic in and out of our stadium on Sundays when fans are allowed to come back? You won't watch it from your couch.
And that traffic is hell.
It is a friggin'. I've sat in that parking lot for hours waiting to just get out of my damn spot. It's a joke.
Yep.
I hear fans talk about other stadiums where they walk out, they get in their car, and they're home in an hour. They're out of the lot in 5 minutes. I think they're lying. You may as well talk to me about the damn Twilight Zone. That is such a thing cannot exist in my mind.
That's fantasy land in
it's a dreamland, like the goddamn utopia. You think fans are going to put up with that after they're not willing to sit down on their couch and turn the game on and watch this disaster? That is the only way. Listen, this team does not fire coaches in season. They just don't do it.
No. It
doesn't matter whether they deserve it or not. They don't do it. They let them coach out the season. People are saying, "Oh, Chris Johnson." Listen, I refuse to believe it's a money thing. I mean, these guys are billionaires with a B.
Yeah.
Do you know what $5 million is to a billionaire? I mean,
they'll eat that.
Christ. It would be like someone asking you if you could reverse the Jets' fortunes for $3.50. Would you do it? And you being like, I don't know, man, $3.50. Like, that's nothing.
Exactly.
That is pennies when your team is tanking. Your fans are tuning out, featuring a 37-year-old running back as the centerpiece of your offense. So I refuse to believe that's what it is. Will the Jets fire Adam Gase in season? I think the only way that happens is if the losses like this have to pile up. A few more losses like this. I talked to someone earlier. They made a good point. They said, look, man, Thursday night is against Denver on national TV against their backup quarterback. If another backup quarterback kicks their ass up and down the field and they come away with another damn field goal and a garbage time touchdown, I mean, you can't be – well, you think you can't be any more of a laughing stock than they are.
You would hope the icing on the cake.
You can't.
No, you just can't.
Even the
that
fact
Monday or that Friday would have to be it for Gase.
You would think. So there's that one part of me that has that sliver of hope that if things go that way, they can fire Gase or that they will fire Gase. But my concern is that right now, these first 2 weeks, they have been so bad that it's almost difficult to fathom being worse. And if there is even the slightest bit of improvement, that can be ownership going, oh, look, we're starting to turn things around.
That's progression.
Oh, we only lost by 20 this week. Ryan had 40 yards rushing, and Denzel Mims came back and had a catch. So things are trending in the right direction. You know, a 20-point loss.
Combing that to find a good positive to keep them around.
Exactly. I mean, when you're this bad, it's like someone being 150 pounds overweight and being like, I lost 4 ounces this week. Come on now. Like, let's deal with reality here. Yeah, exactly. You can't really tell.
We need significant change on that field, I think, to save his job. And it doesn't get easier. The schedule does not get easier. Even after that Denver game, you have Arizona, then you go to L.A., Buffalo, Kansas City, New England, Miami.
City game. Oh, my God. That Kansas City game. If I'm the Chiefs, I let Pat Mahomes play the first quarter and then I pull him. Like, just get your reps.
Yeah.
You need a
10-point lead on New York to win the game at this point.
Really,
the game was over after the first play. Yeah, the game was over after the first play of the 49ers. We proved that we can only score 6 points when it counts. So even if they didn't score again, we were going to struggle to win that game.
And again, the people defending Adam Gase are going to point to the injuries, and I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to hear that Chris Herndon had a fumble last week and a drop this week.
It's not enough.
He's a tight end. He's getting 2 or 3 targets a week coming back from a year off from injury. He's going to need to get into a rhythm. He's going to need some reps.
And he wasn't a first-round pick or, some highly coveted prospect coming out of the draft. He was a 4th-round pick that, truthfully, the Jets just got lucky on in what it seems that no one really was like, oh, we found Chris Herndon. That was our guy the whole time. It seems like they stumbled into him and his abilities. So,
well, I will say I happen to remember this because, and of course, Dylan, you probably didn't hear it, but after that draft, I believe it was after the rookie minicamp, we had, I believe it was when we had Manish Made on. It was one of the writers, I believe it was Manish, who said that Herndon was the guy the Jets were raving about, that the Jets internally were like, we got to steal. This guy is going to be the steal of this class for us, starting tight end for years to come. So the Jets were internally very high on Chris Herndon. And rightfully so.
Well,
he showed he can play.
Then.
And these fans, these idiot fans who give up on guys after a mistake or two. Like, what must it be like to go through life where you are so goddamn perfect that you see a guy make a mistake and you're like, oh, time to get rid of him, put him on the bench.
I wish we could go back to the Detroit game.
It's disgusting.
When Sam Darnold threw a pick-6 on the first play.
And
I want to see everybody's immediate reaction to just that one play. And I wish people could stick to that opinion of Sam Darnold because they'd look like real fools right now. And
it was, if you think back, it was the same thing with Herndon. He his rookie year, he had a drop in his first game. And they were like, oh, another wasted pick, another bust. Good job, McCagnon. And that was one of the years that I was able to attend training camp. And I saw Chris Herndon making leaping, diving, fully extended catches left and right. I knew this guy could catch the damn football. And I was beside myself. I was like, you morons. Like, it's a drop. It's one drop.
Exactly. They're not robots.
People are insane. People are so out of their minds. It's unexplainable. Giving up on guys because of a drop, because of a fumble. Oh, he fumbled. Listen, maybe you don't take the guy who's probably, again, the one player that gives you the ability to create mismatches down the field if you run him up the seam. Maybe you don't throw him tight end screens behind the line of scrimmage to get things going.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what he's built for.
No, his game
it's not his
not
strength anyway.
That.
He can do it. Yeah, and the drop was ugly. He should have held on to that. But if you watch the replay, I watched the replay on network, it does look like that even if he holds on to that ball, as he's coming down, his right foot isn't on the ground and he lands out of bounds. So I'm watching that and I'm thinking, well, even if he holds on, that's not a catch. But whether or not it is, he still got to hang on to the football. That's a valid point.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about a juggernaut offense. We're not talking about a team. It's not like you're driving down the field and you only need one big play and you're like, man, we can't go to Herndon right now. He had a drop earlier. He's killing us. You suck. You're going to be 32nd in the NFL on offense again. You're down by 300 points. Target the hell out of the guy. Let him get into a rhythm. Let him get that chemistry back that he had as a rookie with Sam Darnold so that next week he can be your top guy. I don't want to hear about injuries. You didn't throw the ball 20 yards one time. Every damn throw was inside of 20 yards.
You know, when you see other teams down in ball games, you don't see them running these basically give up type drives and plays. You see them dialing up plays you probably haven't seen throughout the game before, trying to target their best players, whether it's a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end. You just see them doing that throughout the game, trying to come back. And it's like 14 points up, wash my hands, I'm on to Indianapolis. That's what it seemed like midway through the second quarter with Gase. It's just giving up, just no lack of competitive spirit in him. And it's in the players. You could tell it's in the players, but it's just not on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's absolutely maddening. And as I said, Adam Gase is either infinitely worse than any of us ever could have imagined, or ownership has told him, don't worry about winning any games this year. Go out there, get your 3 yards at a time, and get that number 1 pick. Which brings us to the question, because this has been talked about a little bit. I hate even getting into it. But Dylan, you get that number 1 pick. Are you taking Trevor Lawrence, or are you trying to trade down and get a few more number 1 picks? Because, of course, you've got 2 already. And let's say some team that's sitting at 4 or 5, and they need a quarterback, and they're willing to say, all right, we'll give you 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 3 to move up 4 or 5 spots. You drop down to 5. You probably get a receiver, maybe a stud O-lineman. Because, listen, if, everyone's saying that Sewell's going to be the second pick, if we see this every year, man, if a few quarterbacks get hot, you can go quarterback. So if you're trading down to 4 or 5, you might be able to get the best offensive lineman in the draft. And I'll tell you what, you want to team that guy at right tackle with Becton at left tackle? I mean, that's what we're going to get into now. Let's forget about this Lawrence draft trade. Right. Let's get away from that for a second. Let me lower my blood pressure, and let's talk about the few bright spots, Dylan. We all watched the game. We all saw the replays. We've all seen the Baldy breakdowns. I'm looking forward to looking at the All-22 tomorrow, maybe late tonight. It's friggin', midnight or whatever here in England. I don't know if I'm going to stay up till 3 to watch the All-22. But Mekhi Becton, I mean, listen, even, I was super optimistic about the guy very early on in the process. I remember, I'm talking like weeks after the season ended. I remember I did an article where I pointed out 3 or 4 players. I said, here are 3 or 4 guys that can enter the conversation at the Jets spot in the draft. And Mekhi Becton was the first guy I listed because I watched him and just thought, Jesus, what a freak of nature. I cannot believe this guy is a projected second rounder right now. And within a week or two of me saying I think this guy can enter the conversation, I believe it was Daniel Jeremiah had him going like 3 overall. I went, well,
that's when it started.
I said, well, there's any talk of him being a second rounder. He might not be there when the Jets pick.
Mm-hmm.
But you go back,
it was like right after the combine or right before the combine, I think.
Yeah, it was actually well before the combine. It was not long after.
He had him going to the Giants, I think, in a mock draft or something.
He had him going to the
Giants.
Giants.
It just started the wildfire of Becton.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was Jeremiah's mock 1.0. It was his earliest one. But I went and I watched him, and we know college isn't the pros, and things that you do in college aren't always going to translate. But you're watching him throw these guys across the damn field in college, and you're like, well, all right, he might dominate in the NFL, but he's not going to be tossing guys aside.
Yeah, he won't throw
people.
Is.
Yep. He had other plans.
Style throwing them.
Mekhi Becton, I'm going to get I'm going to put my palm up against your ear hole, and I'm going to send you flying to the ground, and then I'm going to what do they call that? I haven't watched wrestling since I was a little kid. What do they call it when you just like body splash, whatever the hell you call it?
Like a dive bomb, body slam.
Is that what they call it? I don't know. I stopped watching wrestling when I was like 12. I know not everybody did. But this guy, he pancakes people. I'm going to palm against your ear hole, toss you to the ground.
And then fall on you.
And then I'm just going to, now here comes nearly 400 pounds of human being on top of you. And he's doing it. And it's like
injury. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, he's not going to do it as frequently as he did it in college, but he's still doing it. He's still tossing guys aside.
You keep telling yourself, you see it a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, he's only done it a couple times. He can't, sustain this amount of throw power throughout the game. And even week 1 against Jerry Hughes, it's like, wow, he's putting him on the ground 3 times. And then this week again, he's just big bodies on the ground.
You know what's funny, and we all do this. We're all guilty of this to some degree. when we look at sites like PFF or any site that breaks down or analyzes players, we're always like, well, you can't take it too seriously. You got to take it with a grain of salt. They really don't, it's not the be-all, end-all. It's not the Bible, blah, blah, blah. But then I see a tweet from PFF that says Mekhi Becton is the top-rated rookie. I'm like, hell yeah, PFF. They know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
You like my guy? PFF knows what they're talking about. You have Mekhi Becton 20th among rookies? I'm like, screw you, PFF. You don't know what the hell you're doing. But listen, number one rated. But listen, Damian Woody loves to. I believe it was Damian Woody today who said Mekhi Becton is right now, today, not will be, not the future. Right now, Mekhi Becton is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. 2 games in. I mean,
wow.
The Jets couldn't hope for any better. Yeah, I actually kind of, I wish Bosa had played the whole game. I would have loved to have seen that matchup all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a test. You don't get a better test than that.
Yeah, it was one of our talking points all week. It was like everywhere you look in the Niners-Jets pregame, it was Bosa versus Becton, and what can the rookie do to stop him? And unfortunately, we didn't get to see it fully, but
yeah, I'm not even sure how many reps Bosa played. I mean, it couldn't have been more than a handful.
I didn't go back and look at exactly how many he played, but
I'm going to look it up right now.
Because it was the second quarter. I remember we were driving in the second quarter, and then back-to-back plays, him and then Solomon Thomas. And at that moment, I thought we had a chance. It was like 14-3, and I thought we had a chance, but
he only had 4 pass rush snaps, so not much of a day against Becton. But listen, Becton looks phenomenal, and you love to see it. Alex Lewis has done a nice job, but moving along that offensive line, I don't know when it's time to start worrying about Conor McGovern, but he doesn't look like the Conor McGovern the Denver Broncos had. He doesn't look anything like that guy. Now, he was pulled with a hamstring. They took him out late in the game. I don't know if he was playing with a bad hamstring during the game, but he didn't look all that great during week 1. So are you concerned about that at all?
Yeah, I definitely am. I personally am a big value centers. I think they're the second most important position along the offensive line after left tackle. So after the experiences we've had at center, with Spencer Long and all the other failed projects since Mangold, it was almost like a breath of fresh air when we had McGovern come in. And, Denver wasn't all too pleased with him, but it was much of an improvement over what we had. So now that after this, he could miss a couple games, and it's a hamstring, which is one of those lingering injuries. So we never know what the full spectrum of the injury could be. It could be 1 game. It could be 3. Who knows?
Well,
we could not see him 100% healthy until the bye.
I had people telling me week 1 of training camp to relax. Denzel Mims will be back in a few days.
Yeah, exactly. How many times were we told by Gase in the press conference before practice that, we'll see him in a day or 2, or, Saturday we'll see him. And then after the scrimmage, next week, maybe I gauged the injury wrong. And these are hamstrings. These aren't, it's almost like the soft tissue injuries. They're just too hard to get. He might end up on IR. We have no idea. And then we have Josh Andrews and Conor McDermott, maybe. I don't know what they would plan to do with their backup situation, but
yeah, and
it doesn't look too great.
I'll tell you what, if they run Josh Andrews out there in place of McDermott and he gets blown up, that Joe Douglas honeymoon is going to look that much worse. I didn't like the idea of letting Jonathan Harrison go. Jonathan Harrison is not Nick Mangold. He's not Kevin Mawai, but he is a solid backup at the center position. I mean, he's on a team now. He was going to get picked up.
I was going to say
Buffalo
he signed him to Buffalo. Yep.
Buffalo signed him. So if you go to Andrews, who has, I don't think he's got 100 career reps. He hasn't played.
He got 19 last week. And it kind of got lost in the shuffle of everything, the disappointment in the game itself, and so I didn't get to see exactly what he looked like, but there wasn't any glaring spots, but that doesn't mean a full game of him is doable, let alone a long or short-term fill-in.
Yeah, again, with saying PFF isn't the be-all, end-all, which they aren't, when I looked earlier, his pass block grade was horrendous.
Oh, geez.
and it was they were mostly throwing the ball when he was in there. I can pull it up right now.
Now that I think about it, that Sam scramble
14 pass
came
block
from
reps.
the center, that pressure.
Well, here's the crazy thing. 14 pass block reps, excuse me, graded out at 13.4 as a pass blocker. But the surprising thing is that's better than Conor McGovern, who graded out at an 11.5. So some ugliness at center. And like I said, if this guy comes out and Sam Darnold is running for his life again because the center can't play, and you let Jonathan Harrison go, following the Ryan Khalil debacle, following the fact that you're in charge of a roster that right now doesn't have any wide receivers on it, you let Robbie Anderson walk. How's that working out? Working out?
You threw money at
But he's not a
Rashad
number one
Perriman to get
receiver.
4
but
catches
he has
out of
skinny
him.
ankles. But he can only run one route. I'm watching him run slants. I'm watching him run digs. He's got over 100 yards in both games. Somebody today, some analyst, I forget who it was, someone tweeted it out, said the top 10 route runners I've seen so far this season, and Robbie Anderson was on there.
Of course.
Yeah, that's not looking like a great. I said it last week. I've never in my life seen a guy who fans who hate him, they use his explosive plays as proof that he sucks. Like the number of people.
I did hear you
someone
say
did it the other day. After week one, I tweeted it out about Robbie with the 70-yard touchdown catch, and somebody was like, "Yeah, there he goes again, one big play." I'm like, yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't on just a streak route; it was a double move where he put Damon Arnett on skates.
Absolutely, and I've never
seen
a player.
That game, and he came over to the sideline. He said, "20's huffing and puffing. He can't run with me." Put on a little double move. 20 goes falling down, and next thing you know, he's in the end zone. So
exactly, and
you want to just throw money at Rashad Perriman instead of giving a couple more million to
thank God Rashad Perriman doesn't run a go route. Thank God Rashad Perriman can run a 7-yard comeback. Whew, man, where would they be without that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's unbelievable. I've literally never seen it.
The biggest indictment on Joe Douglas is going to be the wide receiver position when it's all said and done, because this group is just embarrassing. I mean, I like some of the players. I mean, like we were saying, Berrios, we like him, but if they don't get Crowder back anytime soon and Mims, isn't spectacular out the gates, Twitter's going to be on Denzel as soon as he drops a pass. So we need to see great things from this unit going forward, or else what do we have to hang our hat on with Joe Douglas other than the O-line that's clearly one injury away from being a liability as I sit here and rewatch Sam Darnold's touchdown pass. The pressure came straight through from Van Roten and Josh Andrews. Josh Andrews didn't even touch the guy.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. But what one thing that could help Joe Douglas a bit more is first of all, these guys have to get healthy. But I said before the season, my prediction was that by the time the year ended, Cam Clark would be a starter at one of the guard spots. And I'll tell you what, if Van Roten keeps playing this way and Cam Clark comes back healthy, I would almost say maybe you see Alex Lewis move to right guard and you move Cam Clark to left, or whatever, however you work it.
Right.
Van Roten could be on a short
him
leash.
Next to Mekhi personally, but
that's
you need
exactly.
To stick him at right guard for now and put him between Fant and McGovern, between two veterans, and say, hey, go learn, and then maybe switch them over. Yeah. But another thing with the rookies is we've had 9 draft picks plus Quincy Wilson, and 5 rookies haven't even seen the field. So,
I know a lot of guys
Morgan,
hurt.
Will he ever see the field? So.
Well, hope not. But
I
think
you don't want him
to. That's the thing with some of the, like Bryce Hall. He's one guy. You knew he fell because of the injury in the draft, but haven't really heard a time frame. Like, is he even going to be?
Nope.
Is he? Are they thinking mid-season? Are they thinking week 15? Like, will he be on the field? But the Quincy Wilson move, I didn't like that at the time. I said it. People criticized me for it. I said, why not take a receiver in that spot?
With the amount that they've used him, exactly. Take a swing on any of those wide receivers that were going to be undrafted free agents that you, again, didn't sign after the draft.
Yeah,
came
or
away
even,
with Lawrence Cager and George Campbell.
Yeah, and some of those 7th-round receivers or 6th-round guys, Juwan Jennings out of Tennessee, I really liked. I think he was still on the board.
Yep.
So I would have liked to have seen something like that. But Joe Douglas can kind of save himself a little bit here. If let's say these rookies start getting healthy and just make some plays. Jabari Zuniga gets himself a couple sacks.
I'm excited to see what he can do.
All of a sudden you're in business. And speaking of that, Dylan, moving to the other side of the ball for some positives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big predictor. I'm not a big this guy needs to do this today. This guy needs to do that today. But with Quinnen Williams, I have been a huge proponent of Quinnen Williams. Huge supporter.
Yep.
Love the pick. I've said a million times this offseason he was going to have a monster year. Week 1, had a couple more of those. Well, got close, but didn't close the deal. And to me, I gave him a pass. I'm like, all right, look, it's Josh Allen. He moves better than most quarterbacks in the league.
You gave him the Leonard Williams pass in Week 1.
Exactly. And it was because of Josh Allen's mobility. But I tweeted out before the game. I said we got to see a sack from him today. Like, he's got to do something to show. And I get that guys take time to develop. But we're still he had 2.5 sacks as a rookie. And for those of you who recall, one of them came when a guard for the Dolphins pulled and no one filled that hole, and he was literally unblocked. He just walked into the backfield and fell on the quarterback. So for all intents and purposes, in terms of having to beat the man in front of him, he had 1.5 sacks as the 3rd overall pick. That's not going to cut it. But I said a million times this offseason, anyone giving up on this kid or saying he didn't have a good year, you're too in love with the fantasy football. Like, you can do things that don't show up on the stat sheet. We saw him have great reps against elite guards and elite centers where he didn't get to the quarterback, but he was putting guys on skates, driving them into the backfield. And we saw that against Zach Martin. We saw that against Kelsey in Philadelphia. So he was beating up some really good players. And I thought, this week, he's got to do it. I don't want to hear that he's facing a good O-line because San Fran does have some good blockers up there. I don't want to hear it. When you're the 3rd overall pick, you're supposed to be able to take over games against other good players. You're not a great player if you have to wait till you play a garbage blocker, on the other side of you. It's like Adam Gase, who says, "Oh, thank God, someone finally mentioned that the Bills' defense is good." Yeah. Oh, well, sorry, Adam. We didn't mean to imply that you should find a way to score against the good teams. Yeah, please, by all means, another free pass. So I said before the game, we got to see a sack from this kid today. And Quinnen Williams went out, played his best game as a pro, for my money, up until this last Sunday. Last year, the second matchup against the Dolphins was probably his best game as a pro, where he just, just blew up into the backfield several times. And that's the thing. Sometimes, and people were like, "Oh, big deal. So what in that Miami game? Look how many times he ran past the running back. The running back got away. The quarterback ducked under him." And it's like, look, like baby steps. The important part here is that he ragdolled the dude in front of him and flew into the backfield. Like, once he settles down a little,
end result.
Yeah, like, let him get himself under control. Again, same as the Chris Herndon thing. Like, these guys aren't perfect from day one. And I've literally seen people on the forums on JetNation, which, if you're not on the forums at JetNation.com, get on the forums at JetNation.com. There's some lunatics on there, to be fair, but there are some good, well-meaning, well-intended, genuine Jets fans who care about this team. But there are some lunatics, but you're going to get that in any population. Anyway, I digress.
Absolutely.
Complaining that a guy is flying into the backfield. Oh, but who cares? He missed the quarterback. All right, he's 21 years old. He's 22 years old. Can he please have 10 minutes to get acclimated? So I was willing to, excuse here, pass there. Like, he's a rookie. He's young. High ankle sprain. Finding his way. Not a lot of help on that line. But after week 1, when I'm like, okay, dude, you almost got there.
We wanted a little bit more, yeah.
As you said, we said it with Leonard Williams. We said it with Quentin Coples. There's always these guys who are like, oh, but he's getting pressures, which isn't a bad thing. Like, good players, you can have 4 sacks, but, 35, 45 pressures. That's not a bad year. But when you're the 3rd overall pick and you're supposed to be a dominant force, you got to start closing the deal on some of these. And he did it in a big way. Huge game, 7 tackles, 2 for loss, forced fumble, 2 sacks. Quinnen Williams appears to have arrived, giving Jets fans a reason to tune in. Even though the season is over, you're going to want to watch some of these kids play. What was your overall impression of Quinnen Williams and his coming out party?
Overall, it was very refreshing to see, because I wrote about him in the process of him coming out in the draft. I wrote about him for JetNation. So he was one of those that I really had my eye on, and I was really pushing that I wanted the Jets to take him at 3, even though, hindsight, there might have been another player that could have worked out better. I know a lot of the fans loved Ed Oliver in the process, but I loved Quinnen Williams. So I'm just like you. I stuck with him all last year, even with the BS in the off season at the airport. I sat there. I was like, you know what? He's a young kid. He doesn't understand the laws. It's New York. It'll swallow you up. But this was what we needed, and I hope going forward it sustains. He's got another tough task this week in the Colts, but I think it was a great foundation for what he could actually be as a pro.
Yeah, and I, not to get into it too much, I think I've mentioned it on the show, but I'll just touch on it real quickly. We don't have the details of what happened at the airport in New York with the gun charge, but I will say this is a very weird coincidental thing. I had literally, within 24, 48 hours prior to that incident, I happened to watch a video that somebody sent me about the bureaucracy, big government overreach that New York City has in when dealing with the TSA and people traveling with guns. So if you don't know any better and you're not from New York and you go to the TSA website, the TSA, and again, I don't know that this is what happened with Quinnen Williams, but this is just to give you an example of how backward the system is and how something like this could very easily happen to someone who is not breaking the law. If you go to the TSA website, they give you video instructions like, if you are traveling with a gun, here is how you do it. And they were literally, they showed the video, they were interviewing people who were traveling. I think one of them may have been Alabama, but they were traveling to and from New York. They called the TSA ahead of time, said, I'm traveling, I have a gun, how do I travel? They said, do this, disassemble, make sure there's no, make sure it's not loaded, make sure the rounds and the weapon themselves are isolated in different parts, blah, blah, blah. These people did exactly what the TSA told them. And they said, when you check in at the gate, tell the agent that you have a gun packed by TSA standards. And all of these people did it to the letter, and they were all arrested. So it's like, what the hell? And New York was like, oh, we don't care. That's not our law. And these people were like, right, but the TSA said to do it this way. Well, we don't care. You're not allowed to have there was a dude who got arrested. He had I don't know if it was an M16. I think it was an M16, a magazine, no gun, no rounds, just a magazine in his bag, and they arrested him.
Wow.
So, yeah. So you can be a totally 100% law-abiding traveler, doing 100% the right thing, calling the TSA, visiting their website, following their instructions to the letter, and New York will arrest you. So, again, I don't know whether that's what happened with Quinnen Williams, but just to give you an idea how backward the system is, and nobody's on the same page, because that's what the hell, nobody's on the same page anymore, anywhere, no matter what you do. So anyway, yes, very exciting to see Quinnen Williams, finally rising to the top and showing up with his A game. And speaking of showing up with your A game, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Mile Social, who always bring their A game. Mile Social, listen, if you're a business owner, small business, medium-sized business, big business, whatever it may be, and you're trying to run your business and you've got a bunch of social media platforms to run and you're not sure how to manage your Twitter account, your Facebook account, your TikTok account, your Instagram account, contact Mile Social, M-I-L-E Social. That's milesocial.com, M-I-L-E Social.com. give them a call. They'll help you out, whether it's your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Miles Social's got you covered. They'll kind of go through the algorithms with you, show you what you'll want to do to get more customers onto your website, onto your platforms, and into your door. Contact milesocial.com. All right. So Quinnen Williams looking like a stud. Mekhi Becton looking like a stud. Sam Darnold being treated like a baby. So, 2 out of 3 in terms of the last 3 first-round picks. I don't know where this goes from here. I mean, nobody knows. It's absolutely mind-numbing to watch this team do the things that they're doing. We talked about the Avery Williamson comments. We talked about the McDougal comments. It seems that players are starting to speak out and in a way that's not very complimentary of Adam Gase.
I think the biggest part about the Avery Williamson that I took away from it is the fact that it started with a quote from Bradley McDougal, who's only been here since the end of July, and his quote was, "We aren't winning practices," and that's not good, even for week 2 in a weird off season, and yada yada yada, COVID this. That's not good to hear from somebody that comes from Seattle, who hasn't had a losing season in, I don't know, as long as Russell Wilson's been there, so it's not a good start.
And it's believable. It's believable. Listen, we mentioned it earlier. When you're leading the NFL in tackles and have nearly missed tackles, and you're nearly double what the next closest team is it surprising to hear 2 defensive players come out and say, "Yeah, we don't practice well. We come out, we practice flat." And I think that those are the type of things. You start talking about getting blown out by backups, respected veterans saying you don't practice hard, fans not tuning in for games, record low television ratings. You might see I'm hoping like hell that this is enough to get Adam Gase shown the door. But unless
if not this, then what? At that point, I mean, what less does this team need to do? They need to create a 33rd team in the league that is automatically more productive than the Jets on offense for them to realize. I mean, but the only positive thing I guess I could say about the Gase firing is the world seems to now have shifted the focus. Week 1, it looked like it was Darnold's fault, and Darnold looked terrible and all that. And now the focus has shifted way more to Gase, not on Darnold. Now we get, the Darnold trade scenarios and that, but I'm glad that the focus is not on him solely, because what can he do? He's 23, limited with his weapons. His best weapon is on IR, all of them really, and the other one is unused in Ryan Griffin. And I said it when we did the roster prediction that he was going to be the sneaky tight end too, that if Gase used him, they could actually make it work. And we see a bunch of 11 personnel and inside dive with Gore.
And now, all right, so this Sunday, the Jets travel to Indianapolis. I don't know. I mean, I can't see any scenario where the Jets win a game anytime soon. As a matter of fact, they're already, despite the fact that, as I said, the Broncos are playing their backup quarterback. The Broncos are already favored against the Jets for next Thursday.
Wow.
Denver's a 2.5-point favorite, which is hilarious. It's just
because
unbelievable.
You get some points for being home, which is funny.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically. I
was texting or messaging Alex when we were talking about me filling in for him, and we were just discussing things about the Jets, and we mentioned that. Let me pull it up exactly what we were saying.
Well, while you're doing that,
he said hopefully Rivers gets risky and throws a couple picks. This was yesterday he said that. And I said, it's unfortunate that on a Monday we are talking about the other teams making mistakes to help us win rather than us just going out and playing harder and earning it. And I think that's kind of where we're at is will Phillip Rivers give us the win by throwing bad passes. And honestly, I think defensive touchdowns is going to be the only thing that puts us over the top. If we could score defensive touchdowns, maybe we have a chance to win.
The funny thing is, and I would have lost, so I'm glad I didn't. But like I can never bet against the Jets as pissed off as I get at them. But it crossed my mind this week. I think I'm just going to bet $50, well, 50 pounds, that they don't score a touchdown because they could still win 9-6. I'm not betting.
Yep.
I'm not betting they won't win. I'm just betting they won't score a touchdown. And I nearly placed that bet, and I thought, no, I'm going to lay off for that one. And I'm glad I did because, of course, they scored a minute 30 left. So I actually would have been pissed off about that because the game was lost anyway. But I don't know about you, but for me personally, I am really, really looking forward to Quinnen Williams going head-to-head with Quentin Nelson. That can be I mean, that's sort of an epic matchup right there. One of the best against one of the best, or one of the up-and-coming guys. Phillip Rivers, of course, will cause problems. And, this is kind of where we're at. I'm not looking at these games anymore in terms of what do the Jets have to do to win. I'm looking at them like, okay, where are some matchups where I can see some development from a young player? Because a win is sort of out of the question.
We're just kind of the development stage. We'll get to the wins later. We're not even out of that. We're in diaper phase now.
Yeah, it's kind of the thought of beating anyone is that's I don't see that happening at all. And listen, maybe when Denzel Mims comes back, but how much can you expect from a rookie who hasn't had a practice? You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're putting a lot of hope and expectations onto him coming off this injury, and who knows, he might want to ball out in his first game. Even if he does come back, what is it, week 5 against Arizona? I mean, they're not a terrible defense. What happens if he pushes it too hard and now, he ends up on a season-long IR because he wasn't 100%. It's just we're in a situation where we're forced to play players that might not be 100%, whether they're rookies or veterans, and it might hurt the development. And that's kind of what we need right now is just development. We're not in it for wins anymore.
No, and it's a sad state of affairs, but that's absolutely where they are right now. You can't look at this team and say what do they have to do to win, because it's not going to happen. But there will be some interesting matchups in this game. We talked about Van Roten, and so if Van Roten continues to struggle, and you go to Andrews, you got to contend with DeForest Buckner on the inside,
who has been explosive. He destroyed in that game against Minnesota last week.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the better interior defenders in the league. You're now going to be faced with putting him up against Andrews, who, again, the guy. I'm going to look that up actually. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to. He doesn't have an NFL start under his belt, and I believe when the Jets signed him, he had fewer than 100 career snaps in the NFL. Now to look at him, the guy he's as wide as a damn truck from shoulder to shoulder. You would think he's impossible to get past. We'll find out in time, but he's not an experienced guy. If you got some really good interior rushers, but DeForest Buckner being the best, and Van Roten struggling, and either McGovern or Andrews at center, that can get ugly in a hurry. So Sam Darnold could be in for another long day if that interior offensive line doesn't hold up. And they have some good players on the edge too who can get to the quarterback. Justin Houston's got himself a couple sacks already. Danico Autry's got a couple of sacks. So let's listen to
they got a good defensive front.
Yeah, they've got 8 sacks in 2 games, and let's see, 10, 14. They've got about 24 quarterback pressures and 8 sacks in 2 games. So they can get after it, and it can make for a long day. So we'll see what happens there.
So I looked up Josh Andrews, and you were right. Coming into that game where he filled in for McGovern last week, playing 19 snaps, he had 98 career snaps prior to that. 61 in 2019 and 36 in 2018, and then 1 in 2016. So
that might be our starting center on Sunday against an all-world interior D lineman.
Was Jonathan Harrison signed to Buffalo's active roster, or they're just their practice squad?
I believe active roster.
I think so too. I was gonna say, is it too late to get him back off their practice squad?
Yeah,
but
well, I mean,
probably
that's
is.
the thing. It wouldn't
He's
make sense
a
to do it because
too.
they had him. You know, they obviously prefer Andrews. So, you know, we'll see what happens there in terms of, but actually it does look like he is not on their active roster. I just popped over to the Bills roster here. Jonathan Harrison's on the practice squad in Buffalo. But again, it's you know,
exactly.
It's not like they chose him. They chose Andrews over him.
Would he be happy to come back?
Yeah, so it's you know, we'll see what happens with Andrews, whether it's him or McGovern. But either way, even if it's McGovern, the more accomplished guy, the big free agent signing, he has not been very good. Like I said,
the interior's been a little shaky for sure.
Yet again. So again, even that much more reason that hopefully Cam Clark can get healthy, come back, and win a starting job. But before we sign off, Dylan, and this has been a lot of fun considering the fact that I hate the Jets right now. Colts this Sunday on the road in Indy. What are your thoughts? Give us a score here.
Okay, the score, without getting too deep into anything that I think will happen, I just think the score roughly will be 27-10. I don't see it going any other way. We can come out as fast as we want, and I still don't think it will amount to many points. So I'm going to say 27-10. Yeah,
I'm in that same ballpark. I'm going to say 31-6. Maybe they keep this. Maybe they start a legendary streak, an unprecedented, unrivaled streak of garbage time touchdowns, and maybe 17 weeks in a row the Jets score in the final 2 minutes while trailing by 17 or more. And they ship a bunch of those footballs up to Canton for fans to come and look at for years to come. But that's going to wrap things up for us. Oh, go ahead, Dylan. What do you got?
No, it's okay. I was just going to say one last note was back to the betting on the Jets. I don't like to bet against the Jets, so I don't put money for or against them. But all of my friends texted me throughout the week saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I bet the Jets to score the least amount of points in the week." And they didn't do it by 2 points.
If I wasn't a Jets fan, I would have put $1 million, like I have $1 million. Yep. I would have put money,
all the money in the bank,
on San Fran last week. I might, you know what? I might do the no touchdowns again because I'm not betting against them to lose. They could win 3-0.
Exactly.
They could kick 8 field goals and win 24-21. I'm still going to root for them, but I might have to put some money on the Jets scoring 0 touchdowns, especially if Andrews is getting the start at center. Perriman's out with the knee.
No Crowder again, no Perriman.
Chris Herndon is going to be the jumbo package blocking tackle, tight end. You may as well because Adam Gase is
going to go for 30 carries.
Yeah, exactly. Frank Gore is going to be. I think they're trying to get him to number 1 all-time rushing. Might see Adam Gase, lobby on his behalf for
hardest to get there.
Yeah, give him a 3-year extension, and get him there 2 yards at a time. So that's going to wrap things up for us. Please, football gods, get Adam Gase out of here. It's our only hope.
Send us a sign.
Yes, exactly. So that'll wrap things up for us this week. Alex had some surgery. He's on IR. Even whenever he is back, Dylan, we're going to start having you on a more regular basis. We do enjoy having you. So thank you so much for joining me this week. And hopefully the Jets aren't, maybe they won't be a complete embarrassment on Sunday. Maybe we'll come on here and think, hey, the Jets only lost by 13. Like, way to go. I
hope to come back and say some positive things. I mean, I'm smiling through all this negativity at 0-2, but
smiling through the pain. Smiling through the pain.
Yeah, we got to see something.
This is fun. Yeah. So, all right. Thanks so much, Dylan. We'll have you on again soon. Thank you, Jets
Sounds
fans,
good.
for tuning in. And Jets Indy this Sunday. We'll see how it goes. Have a great week, Jets fans.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at JetNation Radio. Glenn is at AceFan23 and Alex is at NYJetsLife24.
Until next time,
Go Jets!